Rugby's Rugby. Yes, we are your one-stop shop for all things French rugby in the English language. And of course, it is Top 14 week, and we are doing a whole host of previews of the Top 14 with our team guides. And this is the first video in that playlist looking at players to watch in the Top 14. We've not done a strict criteria, we've not done a kind of ranking list, but as you can see, we have picked 14 players. We tried to trim it down as much as possible. We picked 14 players to watch, where there is not one from each side, as you will see. We kind of went for players aged under 24 or less, and players that perhaps people might not have heard of. Now, that is obviously a very nebulous term. Some people have heard of players, some people haven't. But players may be coming up from Pro D2, where we've seen them play, or perhaps kind of coming from outside the league and from obscurity, or just uncapped players generally, maybe. I think, you could say, why is there not Teo Atasogbe, Emilian Gaeton, Louis Biabere is under 24, Nolan Lagarec, like these guys. Those guys are established players. They've played a lot for France. They've played Test match rugby. They've played Challenge Cup rugby. But we wanted to go for some of the less heralded players. There's a few of the France under-20s players in here. A few guys that have perhaps been in squads. There is one anomaly. We have one capped player in there from Fiji, but he's pretty unknown. Not played that much for Fiji, and he's a dual-code international in Rugby League and Rugby Union. But let's get into them. As I said, there's not really a distinct ranking at all in terms of there's not a list. But I'd say the ones at the top are the ones that we love. So I am proudly wearing a Section Powers t-shirt and a Section Powers hat because I'm completely and utterly biased about Fabien Braubarry, who is an absolute superstar in the making, if not already. He will be starting at 12 for Po, who made the Champions Cup last year, partly on the back of his performances as he became a bit of a regular in the side at 12 in the second half of the season. He has played for France under-20s. You may have seen him there, both in the Six Nations and during the World Championships this summer and last summer, actually. He is just a fantastic inside centre. He plays with the kind of reckless abandon that you get from that youthful side at Po, but he's really good at getting over the gain line. Like, his physicality for a guy that is still only 20 years old is phenomenal. He's kind of got that Jamie Roberts thing of being not necessarily like powering over, kind of Manu Tuolangi style, but getting across the gain line, sucking in players, beating the first man and getting a half yard through the second man. He's that sort of player. Talking Manu Tuolangi, in the game that we were at the Real Arena, Bayonne versus Po, he was basically the only person in the Po side capable of stopping Manu Tuolangi, who had an absolute stormer that day. So that just shows you the pedigree he is. He has been in France full squads before. I think he was in the Six Nations squad at the back end of Six Nations, and also possibly in an early squad over the summer. But this guy's going to play for France. He is a long-term successor at 12. Whether there's guys like Mofana or Deporter or maybe Mfiku, like, for the moment, brilliant. But Fabien Braubarry is the guy to watch out for. Rich, he's going for one of his boys. That's why Teo Shabuni is in there. A little bit of bias from me, from Po. A little bit of bias from Cast, from Rich. We are both big fans of Teo Shabuni. Just capable of, like, really sparking something energetic, really active, kind of like a rugby league fullback. So he plays fullback. For Cast, he was part of, like, some of the attacking rugby that they played last year that was so exciting. But he's kind of like a rugby league fullback in that he's kind of just hunting in behind and looking to pounce on the next ball or the next pop pass or whatever. Another fullback that we absolutely love, who was one of our nailed-on starters in our Pro D2 team of the season last year and was in our shortlist for Pro D2 Player of the Season, Gabin Law. We love Gabin Law. Anyone that's watched Pro D2 will know plenty about Gabin Law. He is absolutely rapid, has an enormous boot, can slot drop goals from over 50, can slot kicks from over 50, has scored some absolute wonder tries for Béziers. He's been a superstar of Pro D2 for the last couple of seasons. He has moved to Lyon. That is a fantastic pickup. They have lost David Niniashvili, but they have signed a fantastic fullback. So excited to see what he's capable of at the top level. He said that he wants to be his own player. He's not in to replace David Niniashvili. I like that. Can't wait to see more of him. Another young French fullback that we're both big fans of. He is, in our eyes, a fullback. We saw him again at Brive against Aurillac last September. is Matisse Furte. So he was a fullback slash winger. He looked really good under the high ball. Again, like Gabin Law, capable of scoring absolute wonder tries. He did in the second half of the season fill in at 9. He actually became Brive's first choice 9. Not seen enough of him at 9 to kind of make a judge, but I loved him at fullback. And I think the fact that Toulon have Baptiste Serin, Ben White, and they've signed Clovis Labai this season suggests that they don't need a scrum half. They probably need an outside back. So he will hopefully play 15 and wing. But he, again, is one of the most talented players in France. Great pickup for Toulon. An interesting one that's kind of not perhaps, that was kind of a bit short term and we've not known about for as long was Hugo Sun at Racing 92. So Racing have lost a number of halfbacks. They've lost Owen Farrell, Dan Lancaster, Tristan Tedder. So they've lost their 3 first choice fly halves. They've also lost Nolan Le Garrec. I guess Gibert is probably the only one that's remained. Clovis Labai was at Racing, a guy that has been in France squads and toured with France a few years ago. So they've had a complete clear out at halfback, and they had picked up Leo Carbonneau. You can see him at the bottom there from Brive. He was the first choice 9 for Brive and France under 20s ahead of Furte, and then Furte kind of replaced him back end of last season. He looked like a classic general. He was the kind of he came with loads of hype. He captained France under 20s for a bit. He was the kind of, his dad played in the Brive side that won the Champions Cup back in 1998, I think it was, and he was kind of seen as like the bright young thing, and he was like the nailed on next Dupont, blah blah blah. He's kind of tailed off a bit, so it'd be interesting to see how he goes, but he is likely to be the first choice 9 at Racing alongside another really young exciting player, 24, so at the older end of these guys, Hugo Sun, who came from Blognac and had a season at Aurillac last year, and he was absolutely brilliant. Like, he's got so much hype on social media from the French press and big fans of Pro D2 in France. Again, like a mercurial talent, capable of some outstanding things on a rugby pitch. Really creative player, really exciting. Cannot wait to see him. Good goal kicker as well. Can't wait to see more of him. I haven't seen loads of him. I think he could be a real special talent. He comes with a big reputation. A guy I have seen a little bit was Semi Langivala, a centre / wing from Mont-de-Marsan. He's gone to La Rochelle, staying in black and yellow. I saw him down at Mont-de-Marsan in April, and he was the best. But I think he got injured just after half time actually. But he was the best player on the park by an absolute mile in the first half. Both sides of the ball, really aggressive. For anyone that's watched a lot of Top 14 last year, Sorelli Mangala, similar sort of player to that. So wiry, agile, but packs a punch way more than that frame suggests. He's a good pickup for La Rochelle because Dante's not always fit. Sateni's getting a little... Well, no, he's probably one of the younger guys, but they needed that injection of youth. He's 22. Fantastic pickup. Another centre who's kind of at the top of the bottom bit, suggests how highly we rate him, is Noah Nene. Again, not a huge surprise. He was called up to the Six Nations squad last Six Nations when he was at Dax. We saw him actually about a week after he got called up at Soya Angoulême, and they conceded like 50 points away at Soya Angoulême, and he was the best player for Dax by a country mile. Physicality, it just looked on another level to everyone else, which at 20 is no mean feat, up against George Tilsley, who's one of the more physical centres in Pro D2 at Saxby, and he kind of, anything that Dax were going to create felt like it was going to come from him. Your eye was just drawn to him. Loads and loads of pace. Scored an absolute wonder try last season against Mont-de-Marsan. You may have seen that. But he was on loan at Dax from Stade Francais. He didn't play much at the back end of the season. I think he got injured. He's gone back to Stade Francais, returning from his loan. Really exciting player. There's a bit of a queue at the centres for Stade Francais. They've got some really good options. Maybe he'll shift out to the wing. Can't wait to see him get more game time. Again, another one that could be France squad. Probably fighting out with Fabien Braubery for the 12 jersey for years to come. Another guy who played in that game, Dax v Soya Angoulême, and a guy that we've loved for a couple of seasons as Soya Angoulême fans, it's Alex Masabaka. Now, you may well have heard of him because he was called up to the Scotland squad back in January, literally 3 days after we'd seen him live. And then he toured with Scotland over the summer. So he's been in and around the squad. He's still not capped by Scotland, but he played in the New Zealand Maori game, which is an uncapped game. Really dynamic for number 8. Huge hard-carrying ball carrier. he's absolutely rapid to the point that we are slightly debating the kind of stats you see about his weight, which is like 18 kilos. I don't know how you shift that amount of weight that quickly, because he was scoring long-range tries or getting on the end of long-range tries, and Soyuncu scored plenty of them last season. We love him. We love him. We cannot wait to see him at the top level. He should be playing international rugby this season with Scotland through his Scottish mother. And he's, again, a long-term loan. He was a 2-year loan at Soyuncu. He's gone back to Montpellier, so that's really cool. Another one, I feel like, so these guys are kind of the guys that have garnered a lot of attention in Pro D2. Hugo Pacom is another one. Not seen loads of him, but he's a fullback that can play fly half. He kicks goals. What I have seen of him, he's a very silky, classy operator. Doesn't look the quickest. Maybe kind of looks a bit like a thoroughbred, but perhaps not the out-and-out gas of like Gabin Law and Mathis Ferte. Interesting to see him develop. Interesting to see how much game time he gets at La Rochelle. But either way, La Rochelle again have picked up one of the players that was most coveted across the league. Great signing. Can't wait to see more of him. Another one that did really well in Pro D2. Less so last season, perhaps because he didn't play that much. But when he did play, he like scored tries, made tackle. Like he was, for Nevers, Alaverity lower. He was like near the top of the tackle charts, near the top of the turnover charts, near the top of the line break charts, near the top of the try scoring charts, and he played like 10 games out of the 30 regular games or something. Don't quote me on those numbers, but his impacts were phenomenal, and he played loads more the year before. He's 24-year-old, again another Fijian centre. He's gone to Claremont. Feels like a Claremont player, like not quite like Patheliato type player, just like big, physical, really dynamic, blockbuster, all-action player. He will be really, really interesting to watch. The other Fijian that we have picked up in there is Viwate Karawalewu. As I said, he is a dual-code international now, having played rugby league for Fiji and rugby union for Fiji. 24-year-old comes in, kind of centre/wing. We don't know much about him, but we just think he's got to be one to watch because he comes with such a high pedigree and his kind of CV is outstanding. So definitely one to watch. Can't wait to see more of him. And Cast are very good at finding good Fijians. And then the last two, a couple of guys from Montauban, the promoted side. So the bright sparks from Montauban, we are expecting Montauban, unfortunately, to struggle a little bit this season. But Killian Ringay, for anyone that would have watched those barrage games on FRUK, they will have noticed him because he was absolutely everywhere. Just what an engine, what an athlete, dynamic in the ball carry, loves a turnover, great like energy around the park, does the dirty work at ruck time and maul time, line out athlete. Just the sort of back rower you love to see. Wouldn't be surprised to see him. He's just the sort of player that Fabien Gautier really loves. So wouldn't be surprised to see him in the France squad later on this season. Guy slightly less visible perhaps in that Montauban side, but just a key cog was Noah Kanika. Now, he's kind of listed as a back row/second row. He played a lot at second row and number 5. He's a big unit. Would expect him to be a kind of tight headlock for Montauban. Really, that's partly from my view of seeing him just really good at stopping mauls. Like, there's still value in that, especially in the top 14. There is a lot of big physical forwards. If you can stop a maul in world rugby, let alone French rugby, you are doing very, very well. And he was really good at those really gnarly, tight, ugly bits for Montauban last season. It'll be interesting to see how he steps up. So we've squeezed 14 young players in there. There was a whole list of players that we could have got on there. Those are the ones that we like. We've seen a bit more of them than some others. We know the reputation of some of these guys. That's why we've gone for them. There's not one from each club. If you haven't got one from your club there, tell them to sort it out. Let us know who you think we've missed out. If there are any glaring omissions, should say that these are guys, not a lot of them have played a lot of top 14. So there'll be another video coming out with signings of the season, and some of them are under 24 as well and are just fantastic players. But that's our list of players to watch. We hope you enjoyed that. We hope you find that interesting. If you did, please subscribe, give us a like, because that helps the algorithm and really helps us out. But hope you enjoyed that, and look out for the rest of the top 14 guides. Thanks very much.